Husker fans, after a terrible loss to Georgia Southern, we are left with a lot of questions, but I think one question has been answered. Scott Frost at a Power 5 school, at least this one, ain't gonna work, and it's time to move on. Before we get into all of that, two things. First, hit the like button for us, but secondly, I want to apologize to Georgia Southern. I didn't think that they were going to be a challenge. Even though they slapped Morgan State with 59 points last week, I still didn't give them a shot to beat us, and I was completely wrong. This is rock bottom, Gary.
Yeah. Well, this week it is. I feel like since the middle of last year, each week has been a new rock bottom.
Where are you at on Fire Frost now?
I don't think now's a good thing when you look at money. It's I talk about it a lot with the emotion side of things, how fans are, how a lot of players and even coaches are. But this is a situation where you have to hope that your AD and the whole panel of your boosters and people like that are going to make this decision are able to kind of detach from the situation and think with their heads and not their hearts. Because I keep saying the worst coach we've had, or the worst coaching era since the 50s, all the records that have been lost that weren't already lost, during like the Riley stretch, to compound that and pay this guy an extra $7.5 million so that he's gone now. And you essentially get the same thing, which I think, and I'm sure people will disagree, and maybe you do, that it's just going to be Mickey Joseph taking over the head coaching job, Whipple running the offense, Shanahan sticking with the defense, and then probably, I'm guessing, unless some grace of God thing happens under Mickey Joseph that we run the table and look like a different team or whatever else, it's pretty much going to be a fire sale, clean house, at the end of the year in November, and then you start the process in the offseason. But I don't know what you're gaining by getting rid of Frost tonight or tomorrow or Monday or whatever else.
Can I take a stab at it?
Take a couple.
First, with the money issue. Nebraska brings in $55 million a year. As a fan that's as dedicated as we all are, I don't care. The money means nothing to me. And of course, that's selfish. But I think Husker fans deserve them to have to spend some money to get this thing fixed, if that is something that can fix it. Not saying it is. The other argument's better.
Because I'm going to run through that one real quick. So, yeah, give me another one.
Okay. My other argument is I would like to rip the Band-Aid off, let Mickey Joseph handle it the rest of the way. In my eyes, it can't get any worse. Our offense is not the problem. It's our defense. So I certainly don't want any of the defensive coaches taking over. But I want to get the search started now. I want it to be known. We are looking for that head coach, Urban Meyer. We are looking for that head coach, Bob Stoops. We are looking for that next head coach. Because we are. Let's not lie about it. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not save some money. We don't need to save money. We've got money coming out of our yin-yang. Let's get started now. Let's be the first ones to Urban Meyer's door. Get there early with a bucket of cash. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're both horrible arguments because you don't care about the money because you're not a booster. You're not cutting checks to a school that keeps paying coaches to leave.
Do you think the boosters care?
Yeah, especially when you're talking, to jump into your second point, when you're talking about backing up a Brinks truck to somebody's door to try and get a big name coach. Now you're compiling that. What if they don't work? There's a lot of people were saying you do whatever you got to do to get Frost when he was the hot name and he's from here and yada, yada, yada. We don't know that anybody's going to work for sure. People might assume and think, but again, you're dealing with the fan/emotional side of it. People who have extra millions of dollars to throw at a university they're not sitting on piles of cash and sleeping with pillowcases full of $100 bills because they're emotional with their money. I honestly think, I don't care how much money I had. If you came into me as the AD and you were like, hey man, I'm firing this dude tomorrow. And I'd go, you can do that, but then you can either give me the other half of what I'm going to lose by you not waiting 3 weeks, or you're done getting checks from me. I don't know that it works that simple. I'm saying rich people coming together going, yeah, we agree. We don't want him here either. We're paying you all this money so we can win. We're throwing money at the school so that we can compete for at least conference titles. You know what I mean? Not bottom of the barrel. So you have to factor those things in, and I think it's pretty clear at this point that he's not going to make it to the world. But nonetheless, if you have your people that are going to go out and start this head coaching search for you, it doesn't matter who's holding the clipboard. You know what I mean? Like if you go and talk to Urban Meyer and you're like, "What's your price?" Or you go to whoever you said, Bob Stoops, or you go to anybody. Some people have talked about Deion Sanders. People have talked about Mike Leach. People have talked about basically any name. You can make all the contacts and whatnot you want to do behind the scenes and say, "Hey, we're hiring a coach next year." But I mean, when's the last time a school fired a coach mid-season, didn't go the interim route, and hired their next guy for the next 5 years? Like, I mean, maybe it's happened. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. So nothing's going to change in that time span. It's just that kind of knee-jerk, I'm mad, I want him gone. Who do you think you're going to get that can recruit, develop players, compete at the level that the Big Ten's in, do all these things when you're known as a school that the culture has shifted so much that it's been set back? You know, it's been set back years. It would take a lot of rebuilding. The fan base is impatient. The media is impatient because, you know, we're a blue blood and supposed to be competing a lot quicker at a higher level. You now have this track record of going all the way back from basically when Callahan was brought in, that if you don't get it turned around fairly quick, they got no problem just shuffling through these coaches. Like you even kind of allude to yourself, we pay coaches all the time, we throw money out, we do whatever else. The one thing I think is really going to save them and kind of put them argue against the point I was making before is the NIL. You've heard guys that we've gotten. You saw how many guys we got out of the transfer portal, and there's a lot of wealth across the state when you go look at the stats of like millionaires per capita or per area and things like that. We have that as kind of like back in the 90s when we had the state-of-the-art weight room and training facilities that a lot of the other schools didn't have yet. So it's other schools have the money and the training or in the NIL deals too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like it's kind of a breath of fresh air for Nebraska when things were so stagnant on the recruiting side. So I think that helps you out a lot. That's kind of my thing with why they still are going to care enough to go, okay, 3 more weeks for $7.5 million. Yeah. And then we can go make our moves and do our things and not knee-jerk reaction. Like, we're mad because this happened. We lost to this school, which obviously they are, man. Like you said, pretty much everybody's on board now that he's got to go. You could argue that he's not the problem right now, other than he's the CEO, so to speak, and he's responsible for everything.
The argument is that in year 5, you're barely getting past North Dakota, and then you're getting beat by Southern Georgia in back-to-back weeks after losing to a Northwestern team that got cooked by Duke 2 weeks later. That's the argument.
I'm saying, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, is what I'm not on this. I'm saying here's an argument, because we're talking about you go through Twitter, you hear in comment sections like that, some people are still, Frost is the guy until they say he's gone, or I'm still backing Frost. Or I don't think anybody hates Scott Frost. It's just, how long do you keep banging your head into a wall? But I'm saying he's always been involved with the offense. Well, now the offense is dragging the team to 1 possession losses, as opposed to the defense dragging the team to 1 possession losses. Right? So now you can go, yeah, but he's responsible for all of it because he's the head coach. Well, yeah, but he just now in 3 games, this is the first 3 games of him having that more head coach role, not offensive coordinator type role. And the offense didn't look that great until he started slapping the headset back on and really imposing his will on how much the ball needed to be ran. So to me, it's a Scott Frost and his whole squad have to go. You have to gut the whole thing, burn it down, and start over from scratch. So I mean,
5 years, man.
This is what I was saying before the season started, where it's so complicated. You complicated things more almost by getting rid of half of the staff, especially if the AD in the school came to him and kind of forced his hand. Get rid of the offense sucks. So get rid of this half of your staff. Hire, I don't know if they had their hands in it, if they did, how much, whatever, but hire these guys in. Put yourself this team together using the transfer portal and whatever else you have to in the offseason, and then go save your job. Okay, well, now you have a lot of new things, new system, new players, new coaches, all the stuff I was telling you why I was worried when we were doing our predictions. It's like, I don't know what we're going to get, man. If you change any one of the 5 or 6 new things that changed with us on any other team, you change one of those things, it's cause for pause. You go, I mean, I don't know, man. They got a new quarterback. I don't know. They got a new guy calling the plays. I don't know. Their whole secondary's new. I don't know. They've got new receivers coach. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You start going down the list of all the things, and you put all of those things on Nebraska's plate. And then 3 games in, it's not working. You're no good. You're a shitty coach. You got to go. He already had that bad taste in people's mouth coming into the season. So it's not like, well, what do you expect? The guy's starting over from scratch. No, it was slowly going downhill before that. That's why I understand. To me, it just complicated things because now there's all these, well, what if Whipple had more time? What if these new guys had more time to gel? What if Scott Frost had more time as the head coach and not doing both of, trying to do the offense and be head coach and do whatever else? It's just, it's never going to end. You know what I mean? You got a chicken and egg thing constantly going. So it's like getting rid of Frost, keeping Joseph as the interim, and letting that drag out through the rest of the year is what happens if they get hot? What happens if they do start gelling and things start clicking and they get a little hot streak? The part of the schedule that we thought we were going to go through, except for maybe Oklahoma, and then struggle with is flip-flop. And we get 1 win against the worst team on the first half of the schedule, and maybe they get 1 loss in the second half and in the season. Well, now what? Now everybody goes, well, maybe Frost was just the problem, and we keep Joseph, and then next year starts, and I'm not saying they would do that, but I'm saying it just creates more bullshit, more drama. Like, to me, get rid of him mid-season, get rid of him, but don't do it before the money changes. The cabinets need to be emptied, and then you just go refill them in the offseason.
I'm sorry, but I've lost all hope of our defense just getting hot. If there was a time that our defense was going to get hot at stopping the run, it would have been against an air raid offense, okay? It would have been against North Dakota. It's not going to be Oklahoma. They are going to run through us like wet tissue paper. It's not going to be against these other...
No, I understand.
It's over. The dream is dead. The only argument that I feel you have at all is do we really want to spend $7 million on 6 games? I get that, but I mean...
That's not an argument to me. That's just a common, oh yeah, okay. If we wait 3 weeks, we save $7.5 million. Yeah, we'll go ahead and pick that option. To me, I'm not making those other arguments. I'm saying they're going to be there. And I promise you, we're going to read about them in comments. We're going to see them on Twitter. You're going to hear them from some of the talking heads and the different things like that. Not nearly as much. It's going to be a small portion, but I'm saying that's going to be out there. That's going to exist. Those things. If for some reason something happens along the way during the season that kind of reinforces those few voices you hear, those few squeaky wheels, it can't be, well, I mean, maybe we should just roll into next year. No, dude, when the season's over, everybody's got to go. The whole thing needs to be burnt down and rebuilt, in my opinion.
Tell me the positives of keeping Frost for the rest of the year. But do it quickly because you're really annoying me.
The only positive of keeping Frost is keeping him after October 1st to save the money. After that, I'm not saying there's a positive. I'm saying there's not more of a negative. If you want to call it a positive, we don't get a chance to see Mickey Joseph or whoever the interim would be accidentally fall ass backwards into a little bit of a hot streak at some point in the season and make people go, hey, maybe we keep him. He's getting things turned around.
What's he going to do that's going to help the defense not look like Swiss cheese, man?
Let's just say, since they don't tackle apparently in practice, and, well, they do, but they don't, but whatever else. Let's just say 5-6 games into the season, all these guys that are new in all these positions on defense, especially the secondary, maybe all of a sudden, certain guys, I'm not going to name names, but let's say everybody as a whole stop slapping people's ankles as they dive at them, and they accidentally start wrapping up for a few games. And then a couple guys don't play 8 yards off the ball on 3rd and 4th and 2 or 3. And then when a guy catches the ball, have to run like hell to try and catch up to him 3 yards past the line, past the first down marker to try and make a tackle. Or maybe certain linebackers don't get caught in the wrong shoot when they've ran the same exact zone run play over and over and over again and gouged you for countless amount of yards because the other lane was wide open. Maybe some of these things accidentally stop happening. Maybe once in a blue moon, a guy has covered well enough that he can just kind of glimpse back a little bit when a ball's in the air instead of running straight through him or standing there facing him and letting the ball drop right over his head and into their hands. I don't know. Any of those things maybe start happening just on a week-to-week basis at some point later in the season. And now all of a sudden the defense looks a whole lot better because 3 things that you learn in Pop Warner football start happening.
All right,
It wouldn't make a difference who the head coach is. I'm just saying,
down.
who knows if that starts to happen? And who knows if certain guys come up off of the snap count and actually just graze a defender as he's going by on his way to the quarterback or the running back instead of staying in his stance until he's behind him. I don't know, man. I don't understand a lot of the problems I'm seeing on the field, what the coaches can do. I guarantee you coaches aren't coaching these players to do a lot of the shit that they're doing. But they're not getting them to stop doing it. They're not getting them to do the things they need to do. So I don't know what that answer is. But I'm saying if at some point as the season goes and guys start doing things, whatever, different or better, even for a little stretch, do you create that like, oh, see, he's getting them turned around. And then now it's like, well, do we keep him? Do we do it? The good thing is it doesn't matter, man. We're going to do this. We're going to talk. Everybody's going to have opinions. People are going to argue with us. People are going to agree with us. And we're going to hear other views that we haven't even thought of or brought up from other people. But we're not the ones that are going to make the decision, obviously. So I'm just saying from the perspective of the people who are going to make the hire, I hope if Frost goes, first, I hope he doesn't go until October 2nd at midnight or 1st at midnight, whatever the time thing is, or later. And then I hope it's very clear, or at least clear amongst themselves, that regardless of what happens at the end of the year, the whole place is getting cleared out and they're bringing somebody in and letting them build their whole thing from the ground up.
All right, well, this will not be the last we'll be speaking of the Georgia Southern game. We're going to go live today, Sunday evening sometime, so stay ready for that. Tell us in the comments, though, how you feel. Are you with me? Do you want to see Frost fired? Are you with Gary and you want to see Frost coach this team until we're all dead?